Hello, everybody. It's Michael Jacob with Unleashing Intuition Secrets, joined once again by Dr. Christopher Macklin. He specializes in healing abductees and others who have suffered related negative ET trauma. He assists people in removing negative ET presences from their lives, clearing homes and land, and closing multidimensional portals. He also works tirelessly with illuminati fallout children who have been mind controlled and physically tortured by ET influenced governmental agencies and institutions. In addition, he works very closely with the Pleiadians and Arcturians to help heal and rebalance humanity. His new book, History, Truth and Healing, HIV/AIDS, Agent Orange, Gulf War Syndrome, Morgellons and Lyme Disease, addresses the negative ET presence and how it has affected humanity. So, Dr. Macklin, great to see you again. It's been a little bit. So this is an interesting, very interesting subject.
Mike, thanks for having me. Bless your heart.
Iran. Yeah. Good to
Wonderful
have you.
to be here. Thanks.
So, I've heard a lot of people talk about the Stargate in Iran. Doesn't surprise me. There's one there. Are negative ETs slipping in and out through that? They need to close it down. Maybe that's why we're having this Iran war conflict. Of course, there's multiple reasons why there's wars, but on a deeper level, maybe this is one of them.
Oh yeah, I mean, people, they're trying to cover up as oil. Of course, we know oil is the blood of the planet. It never runs out. Right. I don't know what to tell you, but what's interesting. But of course, they're trying to get a grip and decentralize, and so you haven't got a monopoly on the price. Which is good. And they're putting that front and center. To me, okay, that's important, and there's a lot of other things like terrorist organizations in there, and all the different terrorist organizations which also need shutting down because they're really horrible people, sadly, but that's what they are, so those need shutting down so they don't start creating wars in the future, and that's important. But what about the Stargate, the Stargate technology, and what is a Stargate? A lot of people don't know. A Stargate is basically advanced off-planet technology that serves various functions. It's a high-speed portal which can transport, people and machinery to different locations and almost instantaneously, even across the planet, the universe. And you think, well, how does that happen? Well, they fold you, they fold you in space-time, and suddenly you're somewhere else within seconds. They were built originally, I think, under natural vortexes, like Leyland conjunctures, where the energy is very strong. And they also distribute, the energy in positive ways. In certain cases, the energy is in these places, negatively. It depends, which way you use it. And it affects the energy on the planet, of course, which it has done for many, thousands of years. So, and, the Stargates on other planets. But what's the difference between a vortex and a, because people talk about portals, I've seen a portal and everything else. They're just naturally occurring energy vortexes in different places, but they have no coordinates. Now, the Stargates actually have coordinates, which is really interesting. So, for example, I know they've got Stargate technology. I've remote viewed it. I've seen it in person now. But it's like a frame, and it's like if I was coming to your house, Michael, for a cup of tea, I said, well, give us your coordinates, and you literally just type them in, walk through the frame, and suddenly you're coming out of your frame, you're folded in time, space, and you can do time and space, not just different space, same time. So that's a really interesting thing. But of course, portals are there. You can travel through them, but they have no coordinates. So it's kind of dangerous, because what happens if you walk in a portal and you end up somewhere, on some planet you not even heard of? You're in trouble, because how do you get back? And the answer is sometimes people don't. And I think that's one of the things with the Hadron Collider is that when they switch that on, people have disappeared and they haven't a clue where they've gone, because they haven't really studied the coordinate factor of the actual Stargate itself. But if satanic people get hold of these, what happens? Well, if they're open, the entities from the fourth dimension and other, reticular and, different parts of the universe can actually put their coordinates in and start coming through. They can come back here as quick as we can go over there. So it creates a problem if they're using it for negativity. They can be piling entities in, and there's an uptake in entity attacks, big time, at the moment. I think it's their last go-round. So I think what they're doing is bringing them in as much as they can. And, women are getting violated. They're getting attacks, not just like attachment, but attacks, because these things are getting desperate, a bit like the deep state, they're desperate. So are these things as well, because, the deep state, most of them are just puppets. They're just like, whatever, the control is, the reptilian beings and also the grey reticulars, so, and the Luciferians, of course. So, yeah, it's a bit of a problem. So,
yeah, so they keep, there's supposed to be, there's a, no interference on our planet right now while we're undergoing our ascension, but they're still trying to come in, and they've been pushed off, clear from the DUMBs, deep underground bases and cities that they have. This is ongoing, I'm sure, but they keep trying to slip back through these portals and time travel and all kind of crazy stuff that goes on in those. Now, portals and coming in through these different exit. Oh, I got something that's just shut off. So I have a lot of so Tracy has
switch it up. Let's a pleasure.
Let's just portal through. So there was my experiences, moving in secret space program. We use the portals and all these kind of stuff, and they're different shapes. So people can go through them. My memories are they're like rounded, like you've seen in some of these movies, and then there's some that are like huge and square shaped, and that's where the craft come through. I don't know. Do you believe that the larger ones are in Iran, or are they smaller ones?
I think Iran, they've got a large one and they can get craft through and all sorts of things. Wow. I think it's a very key node. I've seen it. When you remote view though, it's difficult to kind of understand in size. It looks big, but how big? You don't have a ruler. Hang on a sec. Let's measure it, because you're just seeing it. But it looks pretty large, and I think they can get craft through. I think they can get a lot of machinery through, and also obviously many reptilian entities, which are really, we're in charge of this planet. I think they're losing their grip now, especially with the new technology, because you can't just shoot these things because they've got scales where bullets just fly off. You need plasma energy weapons, which I've talked about for years, and of course they've been using these for years, because if you look at, for example, the connections underground between China and the US and wherever, they're thousands of miles now. How far can you drill in a day? I don't know, probably 1/10 of a mile, 1/4 mile if you're lucky. These things can burn through. They burn so hot they basically disintegrate the rock, and then they just hoover it out. And they just keep going. I think they can cut through, someone quoted me, 7 miles of rock a day. So that way you can really get long tunnels. And of course they've got maglev trains and all these things. Mm-hmm. It's amazing. But so going back to Iran, I think the interesting thing is that there's also it's a power node or receptor site in Iraq that actually helps support the Stargate in Iran. So there's two working in conjunction with each other, and each primary Stargate has a Q site. So Iraq has a Q site. That's why they're concerned about really both. Because they want to take hold of this and really stop these entities from coming in. And I see it. I mean, so many clients are getting violated now. It's untrue. Especially women. And I think the reason for that is because if in the middle of the night, you get violated by an entity, the energy that's released around a woman's womb is blocking any ability to get pregnant in the future. Because, if you think about it, if you fertilize egg in a woman's womb, it becomes a fetus. And by the way, just remind everyone, if you want a proper human being, you need a woman's womb, plastic pods don't work. If you fertilize an egg in a plastic pod, you're going to get an AI draconian kind of soul, which means that the NPCs, they're all checked out. But if the energy is really dense down the womb, how do you get a high vibrational human soul through that energy? And the answer is you can't, you know. And I've had so many women who come to me saying, I can't get pregnant, and the doctors have scanned my womb, nothing gone with it. I said, well, there is, but you can't see it. It's the energy. So you release the energy, and suddenly they get pregnant straight away. So, you know, it's just an interesting thing. It's
fascinating, because you are a medical doctor, you have a PhD, and you also have, you know, a doctorate in, what's your other doctorate in?
Yeah, it's metaphysics and philosophy. Wow. Yeah.
Oh my God!
I'm not a medical doctor, but you know, I've to be honest, I've studied more than the medical doctors. You know, I mean, sometimes I go to the hospital, like, you know, with your heart, you know, and I had that heart operation to 2024 because of low frequency energy weapon. And I was talking to him the other day, and I said, you know, the heart's not a pump, don't you? And he goes, well, yes. I said, so you know, you don't need all this lisinopril, metropol, and all this stuff. It's all nonsense. You just need magnesium, you know, and maybe amyla. Because amyla actually, for the LDL, it actually stops it from oxidizing, so it doesn't stick to your arteries. So you only need a couple of things, and it's all natural, you know. But then he said, oh, yes, and the food in this country is terrible, you know, and he actually opened up then. But I'm surprised, because normally doctors are, you know, but they don't know what to do with me. So it's quite funny. Oh gosh, it's hilarious.
Yeah, like a portal as well, isn't it?
Sorry?
The heart is very much like a portal.
It is, yeah. Oh yeah, if you actually unfold it, you know, it's an energetic structure.
Right.
So what it does, of course, is through polarity, it ramrods the blood through. The heart's just a vessel to fill with blood, and then it ramrods through, and it contracts and expands, contracts. Of course, it can go out of sync, you know, if different things happen. But it's not a pump, you know. I mean, a 2 pound, you think about a 2 pound heart. If you had a 200-foot hose pipe and you put a bit of water in it and squeeze it, how far the water going to get? It's going to get nowhere. We've got 10,000 miles of pipes in our body. So you kind of think, this is not. So what this basically doing is ramrodding it through all the arteries, the veins, you know, through polarity. It's incredible, really. So
it is really incredible, the way the blood moves through the system. So it's not the normal pump system that we're familiar with. It's like a energetic.
Yeah, it's energetic, and it keeps going through the arteries. The arteries, you know, through polarity, will keep moving it forward. It's amazing.
Yeah. So getting back to Iran, it's not surprising that right there on the border of Iran and Iraq in the Fertile Crescent, that's where the Epic of Gilgamesh took place. And Gilgamesh, his mother was a goddess, and his father was a human. So he had both. So, but he had, you know, the abilities of a god, because his mother was a goddess. And so he had all these epic things that he fought against gods and the god animals and all kind of crazy stuff. And he got on their bad side. So he had a buddy, Enkidu, who was also very skilled. And so Enkidu was killed. He went into the underworld. And so Gilgamesh, you know, went down there to retrieve him. So kind of like going into a dump, you know, deep underground military base and a city. I believe that, you know, cities that exist inside, especially in that area.
Many, yeah.
A lot of them were built.
And in fact, you know, they've also got massive satanic rituals, you know, and I mean, they're horrific. If you look what they do, you know, they have the power of 12. I'm not going to go into it because it's horrific, but you know, the problem with these satanic rituals, they need the power. So what they do is they dismember while people are alive to get the maximum pain and this sort of thing. It's just, and that's what they've been doing for years, you know, absolute years.
Yeah, definitely. And so, you know, stopping their bases. This is one of the last. I think this is probably one of the last ones. What do you think that has a lot of power?
I think it is. You know, I mean, they've sorted. You know, Iraq's okay, so that tributary, you know, Stargate is the receptor is okay, but you know, they need the main one, which is in Iran. And of course, like you say, there's a lot of things with economy, the petrodollar, that's all collapsing because the oil's, I don't know why it's gone up, but I think it's just to show people, and it's going to tank. And I believe it'll be like 80 cents a gallon, $1 a gallon fairly soon, because the OPEC thing's just destroyed. So it's amazing, what's happening in the Strait of Hormuz. They keep going about that. Well, that'll be free fairly soon. And they've really got no choice other than to submit, So yeah, we'll have to see how that goes.
Yeah, I think they're going to continue this lockdown of the Strait of Hormuz for a period of time, because they're going through that time where they go to Saudi Arabia and they walk counterclockwise around the big black stone, more alien stuff, So it's so they have that process that's going on right now, and then they have their feast, which for a whole month they fast. So this time frame, I think, is basically they're just going to back off. These guys are going to do their rituals, like we're talking about. Some of these rituals I think are very negative, like we alluded to, but they're covered. Yeah. They're covered over with oh yeah, it's just spiritual practice, and no, it's blood sacrifice and all that kind of stuff that's going on. Because when they
blood and bodily fluids as well, they use bodily fluids as well as blood, and they use a whole host of things, sexual type stuff to really make that satanic ritual stick. And that's the good thing about what we do is we're doing a God ritual, which is the opposite, which is God stuff, where you're basically calling out big pharma, big tech, all these different people, and just bring them before God, because people get angry. Oh, let's do something about it. We've got God behind us, and this is what I keep saying. I think it's really important. God's way more powerful than any of this stuff out there. All we'd have to do access God is through maps of intent, and I think it's really important. It's like at the moment, I don't know if you felt it, Mike, but the anxiety in the ethers is off the charts, especially here. Sometimes you feel like palpitations, you can feel your chest getting tight. We work on about 2,000 people a week, so I get a lot of feedback, and for the last 2 weeks, people have been struggling. And what happens with that then, of course, is you get neck problems, you get shoulder problems, you get hip problems, you can't hardly walk, or you can't stand on your foot. All this is caused by the mass, anxiety out in the world because of all these things going on, and it's I've got to take my hat off to the people involved, the president and everybody else. This is about chaos. Well, they've created chaos. It's you're looking all over. Wow, this is incredible. So, but that's the best way, because it destabilizes, satanic people. Because if you go after many different aspects of their facility, you'll find that that they don't know what to fix next, because it's all out of control. And I think it's amazing. So
yeah, I think that we're seeing a lot of stuff like you're talking about. That relates to, UFOs, UAPs, whatever they want to call them. Tomorrow is going to be probably something different to try and distract us and confuse us. But Department of War just published a second unidentified anomalous phenomena. So they're constantly, now that they've opened that window, they're going to start to continually put more and more and more information in there. How do you see this going in the future?
Oh yeah, I think it's going to really accelerate, and I think it's, dare I say, it's really going to prove that religion, is kind of fairly warped in many senses,
Absolutely.
And I think it's going to really upset people, in all factions of religion, not just Christianity. There's a lot of instruments in there that are, there's some good stuff, don't get me wrong, but there's also some absolute nonsense. And if you look at the Gospels that were originally there, they're very different. They're really different, and I think it's such a shame that that it's been diluted into powerless victim stuff. Oh, you've got to give your power away to the Lord. Well, you don't. My father spoke to him a few weeks ago, and he said, "I'm disappointed with you." Oh, not again. What have I done now? He goes, "You didn't get the Lord as your savior." Well, I said, "Dad, the only person who can save you is you, And well, I don't agree. Whatever, So it's really interesting. But it's
not listening to his scriptures, because in the scriptures they say God is within. So everyone looks outside themselves, and really the scriptures are telling us over and over again to look within. So that's part of the manipulation that we're talking about, where different religions will come in and bastardize and control and so forth. And I think this UFO disclosure is going to just destroy that control system.
I just hope they don't. We've got great factions of ETs, who are helping us all the time. We've got the Arcturians, Pleiadians, Lemurians, Andromedans, Atlanteans, various factions, and I think it's a shame that if they do this Project Bluebeam and try and put a negative spin on all these aliens, people will just be terrified. Oh my God, they're aliens, they're out to get us, but they're not. They say, hey guys, we're amongst you, we're helping you. And I think that's a really important thing. And I think, talking to, Mama Kizlet being, especially Mother Mary, and talking to some of the Arcturians, they're basically getting a little bit miffed if they try and pull that one, because they're going to be viewed on as negative, and they're not. They've been helping us for many years. I've attended some of the meetings, and they really do. It's like the meeting to take the grey reticule off the planet. They were talking about what's the difference in violation education. Well, if an entity attaches to you and sends you negative thoughts, is that a violation? No. Well, why is that? Everyone will say, no, it's a violation. But the problem is, when you came down here, they show you a video. And my theory is that God says, I want volunteers. Yeah, I'll do it. So sit at the bar, drink a few drinks, oh, yeah, okay, have a look at the video over there. This is planet Earth. Yeah, no problem. We'll go there. And when you get down here, they've shown you what it's actually like, and what various components there are to take care of, like reptilians, there's snake beings, all this sort of thing. There's issues with the water, issues with the food, and you say, yeah, we can take care of that. And when you get down here, of course, they close off, the veil, so you can't, see your past life. So you're stuck with like, what the heck do I do now? You've got an attachment and you get depressed and I think, but is that a violation of education? It's an education, because you have to learn how to manage these things through the power of God and maps of intent. But what happens if you get a race who sign a contract with your government, like Hitler, like Reticula, and then they moved it here to say, okay, look, we'll give you technology if you allow us to abduct your people. Is that a violation? Of course it is, because they don't have your sovereign permission. So they were swept off the planet in 2017. So, which is good. Yeah. So that's something. And actually the Arcturians took care of that, but yeah, violation education, a very close call in this planet, I tell you.
Yeah, so we're seeing a lot of the manipulation that's coming from all that, but I believe that the Project Bluebeam, like you talked about, got headed off because of their Department of War and President Trump. They're releasing this information, so it's educating people, and it's like we don't have to look at this stuff in a negative light. I mean, just look at it. It's like it's not. They're not attacking us like we've seen in the movies and so forth. So I think it's a very, very positive time, and we're going to continue to see that positive release of information. They're not going to release negative information because there's none there, unless they start to reveal which I think is coming. There's actually in Fox News, one of the Fox newscasters, can't think of his name, Jesse, can't think of his last name, but he came out and started talking about grays and Dracos, and I was like, oh my God,
what? Is this the news? That's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, so and that's mainstream media, so they're releasing this information. So their head Waters, so somebody just put it in the chat, Jesse Waters. So
Jesse Waters,
it is phenomenal. They're heading it off, I believe. They're doing an excellent job. We have talked about it for decades, and we've helped to seed it into the consciousness to a great extent, but now it's starting to go a little bit more mainstream. This is pretty impressive time.
Oh, it's brilliant. And of course, the weaponry that we've been given, the instruments to be able to take care of these beings, have been given to us by the guys in Greenland. So of course, that's why Trump was very interested in Greenland. Forget about the minerals. There's plenty of minerals all over. He was interested in A, the technology, but B, to work with the tall greys and the Nordics, to continue the development of all these, patents and things. And there's plenty of them. We'll have. I mean, I don't know about you, but my belief, I don't know, it'll be 5 years, but I think at least in 10 years, you'll have anti-gravitational craft. If we ever get peace, and one thing that concerns me is actually peace. It's not just talking about it, taking a few leads out, okay, you got peace over there, that's done. It's actually transferring people into a place of love where there is no conflict because there's nothing to be conflictive about. People have got money and all this thing, and so you've got absolute peace, and they can do their spiritual practices. To get to that, I don't know how long it's going to take, but I would hope within 10 years all this technology will be transferred. We won't be using oil, which is I have an issue with draining the planet of the blood, because this oil underneath the planet must affect the tectonic plates as well, like lubricate and things like this. If you take too many billions of barrels out, I know they regenerate, but maybe it can't get to a point where it can't regenerate quick enough, and it's going to affect the tectonic plate. So, yeah,
fascinating. So we're seeing, other things that are being disclosed, like we've been talking about on these shows quite a bit. I said several weeks ago that Tulsi Gabbard, around the same time frame, that other people were being let go, Pam Bondi, that Tulsi Gabbard is going to go too. And so here we have today, several weeks later, Tulsi Gabbard is stepping down. So we're seeing a cleaning of the deep state. Of course, some of these people have been given opportunity to do the right thing, and Tulsi Gabbard failed. Pam Bondi failed. A host of others have failed. But it all leads to a bigger picture, and that bigger picture is our placement and our connection to the cosmos, the galaxy, the galactics.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also working on your spirituality yourself. I mean, so many people just coming to this planet is traumatic, Now, mind a lot of trauma along the way. I mean, I'm working with a police officer, obviously something to do with New York, and, got PTSD and everything else. And we're getting really doing well with him, but the problem is that level of trauma, and it's the same with you, Mike. You must have a lot of trauma, working in the Navy SEALs. I mean, it's not easy, And I think to release that trauma, and I found also with a lot of veteran people, is they're angry because they go over, seas, and they go to war, and they suddenly realize, oh, it's all fake, it's all made up, and they come back absolutely livid. The fact that they were told, oh yeah, you're serving your country, when actually you're serving the deep state just to manufacture money. It's so I've worked with a lot of veterans as well, bless their hearts. So
yeah. And a lot of those veterans, they get exposed to a lot of chemicals and vaccinations and all kind of crazy stuff. And that's very troubling as well, because the military doesn't want to take responsibility for any of the stuff they've been exposed to.
No, they just walk away. I mean, I've had veterans with Agent Orange. We've actually stripped out the body using timeline. The only way to get these stealth pathogens is strip them out of the body using timeline splitter, and it works. And I'm really pleased that we can help them, because it's tough with Agent Orange, with all the nano. They've tested nano on military people. And it's Morgellons. It's an evil. It's probably, I think, the worst disease on the planet is Morgellons. Because it grows through the skin. The particles. Well, it's like the graphene particles in the jab. It's the same thing. It started with Morgellons, and then they put it in the jab, and it's graphene tubes, graphene spheres. Spheres have 92 loaded viruses. Think about that. 92 loaded viruses trigger at a separate frequency. And so, like Marbo, one frequency, Zoster I've seen come up, another frequency. This new one, I forgot what it's called, but who cares? They triggered that. And it's not because they're spreading it, it's because they're releasing it in people's bodies. It's insane. And then there's the tubes, which have CMOS complementary metal oxide transistor arrays, which transmit and receive Bluetooth frequencies. If you want to ever look at that, I don't know if you've ever been into the into a store. If you on your phone, it's got this like developer mode. If you go into developer mode, then you go to Bluetooth and you switch switch on unidentified Bluetooth devices, if you walk around, you'll get all these numbers coming up of people, like 12694 or whatever, and that's all the the Bluetooth codes for the different jabs. It's incredible. So
incredible. And so Morgellons, it's the worst disease out there. Tell us, because I know you're deep into that. Tell us a little bit about what that is and your methodology for healing people on that.
Well, the thing is about Morgellons, and I was on a thing with David Icke some back. What's his name? Dr. Young. He got jailed because he did fractionated zeolite. Yeah. And it really is good at like detoxing. The problem is it detoxified too fast, and she had a heart attack and passed away. Now, we were on a thing about it, and I was talking to his microbiologist, and she said, "Well, I don't understand." She was talking about these particles. So you've got graphene tubes, yeah, and it's bound to different things like nylon 3633. It's got silicates, polymers. It's got obviously spike protein, HIV microinserts. It's got hydrogel, all this sort of stuff. The hydrogel actually hides the stuff from the immune system while it's being delivered.
Yeah.
So you got the tubes, you got the spheres. So sphere, 92 loaded viruses. And you think, wow, that's a lot. It can have anything from Lyme disease, HIV, Agent Orange, Marburg virus, which is basically mad cow for humans. And one thing I was concerned about lately, Mike, is that on a lot of these social media things, there's a lot about zombies. You're thinking, why are they doing this? Because all they have to do is trigger a frequency on 5G. That'll release in the body, and they've got a ton of zombies on their hands because it melts the cerebellum. So I was kind of, But anyway, so that's Morgellons. So you've got those. So
telling us.
I know, yeah. Well, it's good to know because, I'm not saying they're going to trigger the frequency, and maybe it's been stopped. I don't know. But they have the ability, and they have the ability to create zombies just like that, But I think... so what is Morgellons? So you've got the nanospheres, nanotubes, and what they do originally is they just dusted people. And, I've worked with a lot of people who were dusted by the CIA, and basically then what they did is use satellite frequencies, which is now the 5G, 30 to 300 gigahertz. So when they're dusted, the stuff goes through the skin, and then it starts to replicate. Why is that? Because it's a lipid nanoparticle, so it reassembles itself. So, and people say, how can you make nylon grow? I mean, the shirt is nylon 9. This is nylon 3633. And if you guys look on Google and look at undertakers, they're pulling that. It looks like squid out of people's arteries.
Yeah.
So how do you make it replicate? Well, what you do is, what do you need for growth? Well, you need carbon. Well, graphene. You need oxygen. Well, it's in the body. You need water and you need warmth. You've got all that. So when this stuff is dusted, it starts to grow right through your whole tissue and everything. And that's one of the things people make mistakes of. Well, let's detox it. You can't, because it's part of your body. It's grown right through the tissues. And so, and then eventually, when it's overtaken the body enough, you kind of become transhuman, Now, another element of these particles as well is they switch dimensions. And I was talking to Dr. Young's microbiologist, and I said, have you ever noticed these particles disappear? He goes, yeah, Dr. Young was looking at it, and under the microscope, the stuff just, like half of them will just disappear and they'll just come back again. What's that? They've got an interdimensional metallic structure which can switch dimensions to the fourth dimension. So if you try and treat them with anything, like, not that it'll work, but if you try and treat them with herbs or something else it doesn't like, it just, bye, switches itself out. When you're finished, it switches itself off. So then you think, how the heck do you get these things out of your body when they jump in dimensions? And the answer, it took me a long time, Michael. I used to just use space-time continuum, it fries them. But if they're switching out, it's not frying them, and they switch back in. So anyway, I came up with we have a technique now, a protocol where what we're doing is splitting someone's timeline. So like your timeline, we'll split it in two. We grab you and put you on a path of divine alignment, complete wellness, where all the nano and all the stealth pathogens, everything else, valley fever, yellow fever, is eradicated that time. On the other timeline to the sun, what we're doing is separating all that stuff and locking it onto timeline. So as time goes on, it comes out of the body. And when you get to about halfway through, which is 18-ish weeks, don't forget, the reason why it replicates is because your immune system is damaged, by agrobacterium. It's in GMO foods, it's in past vaccines. CRISPR technology also splices the genetics, and so your cell's not compatible, it lifts out the body. And transmissional frequencies, even emotion can affect you. So what we do is basically reset the DNA of the whole cells back to the blueprint. How do we do that? They go within the first cell where life began. They repair all the chromosomes, connect all these together, reset the DNA of that cell back to the blueprint of the Akashic records before you're even born. Then the cells around it. When you've done that, people have like, wow, my God connection's off the charts, because the light body in the DNA is completely compatible to the soul. So, and the good thing about these particles, if you lock them on a timeline sun, if they go to the fourth dimension, that's fine. But when they come back, they're stuck on a timeline to the sun. So that's how we actually got them all out, but it took a long time to figure that one out. So, so it's interesting. So, yeah, we have a lot of people on it, but, I'm surprised. So if anyone's got the jab and wants help, please call us, because we deal with a lot of people on this subject, and I've been dealing with it since 2012 with Dr. Hildy. I don't know if you've heard of Dr. Hildy Staninger, but she's one of the world leading industrial toxicologists. So she's a brilliant. She's actually retired now because they tried to poison her loads of times, like all of us. Yeah, so it's insane.
Yeah, it's crazy, and so in your website you have a lot of this availability.
Yeah, we've got the protocol. We do one-to-one sessions. Now we do specialized groups. I've changed the format, because we used to have the whole crowd and then we just talk to everyone can hear. Now what we're doing is we're using Zoom, and we're using a breakout room so you can speak to people privately. And we just give them about 5 minutes an update, and then I'll work on the people after the meeting. And we do the general groups, of course, Thursday, 5 p.m. Central Time and 11 a.m. Central Time. So, yeah, we've got a lot of books and different meditations. We're just doing our best to support people, really.
Fantastic. And so June 20th, you're mentioning that you're going to have a special session that if we're available, we're going to get involved with. What exactly is that one?
Well, it's a ceremony. So you think about all these satanic rituals with Bohemian Grove and all these places. Let's do a God ritual. So we've been doing it for about 4 or 5 years. And what it is it's calling on God, Goddess, Prime Creative, all it is. Basically, this is the summary of it. And what it's doing is calling out all these factions like big agriculture, big tech, all the social media platforms that are satanic, anyone in the military that's satanic, anyone in the police, organizations that are satanic, anyone in the government, education, you name it, we've got it. What we're doing is calling them out and bringing them before God for justice and releasing to God with unconditional love, forgiveness. It's actually a very, very powerful exercise, and people are like, wow, you can feel the energies, because obviously, 2 or more gather, and we normally have 300 or 400 on. And I would love you to get involved if you can, because it's a very powerful exercise. And I think you feel as though, yeah, we're doing something, because people often say, well, we haven't got the money that Bezos got. Well, thank God, because Bezos has got, $200 billion. The problem is it's a debt note. So he's 200 billion in debt. Now, I'm in debt a lot less. I don't know about you, Mike, but so I'm pleased for that. Yeah. But people often say, how do you go up against these big forces? Power of Crown Creator. That's completely it, to me.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Very, very effective. Very, very powerful. I've seen it, talked about it, and you're doing it as well. So getting people to move in that direction. And that's what a really good meditation or meditation group is very, very powerful and very, very effective. So that's fantastic. You're doing that. So we'll have to, if we're going to get involved in that, if it works out for our schedule, then we'll promote it and make sure we get a lot of people there, which I know you already have a lot of people, but the more the
more the merrier. I mean, we can put it on Rumble. We can put on. I mean, what we could do is split it between Zoom, StreamYard. You can do on the StreamYard bit, and we'll just do it on what's it called, Zoom. We do it on Zoom as well. So we can run it on both, and that'll be great then, because we can both participate. But yeah, can I just can I just share this prayer to remove the collective anxiety, because it's really important. It's just that people are suffering, and I feel for people,
Oh, that's good.
they're losing their things. So if you've got the last 2 weeks, the anxiety has been off the charts. Like, people have palpitations, really tight chest. They're having spine issues, like, oh my God, my hips are really sore and everything else. So how would you get rid of it? Because it's not yours. It's not yours to process. So we developed a prayer. It's called the prayer to remove collective energy. So have a look at the website. You could say it many, many times a day. And what it goes like this. So you ground yourself. I am of God. I ground myself to the earth. Then you say, dear God, and put your hand near your heart. Dear God, this collective energy within my emotional body is not for me to process right now. Grab it, turn it around and say, then I send it back to you, God, to be transmuted and dispersed in only the way you know how. We thank you, God, send you our unconditional love, so be it. Simple prayer, but by goodness, it works. So,
Wow,
did you feel that, Mike?
Yeah. I mean, you could do that for a lot of stuff. You could do it all day long. It'd be great.
Yeah. You just pray the whole. People often get frustrated with prayer. Well, we've got the food. We've got a food prayer. It removes all the godlike particles, optimize the vibration, bless the soul, the animal, plants. All these things are there and instruments to help people. So just use them, bless your hearts, because it really works. And I think the maps of intent are the most powerful things we have on the planet. And so, yeah.
Absolutely. And being in the right place too. You have to be, in the right mindset. I feel like I'm pretty much always there. Very rarely get out of that. And if I do, I bring myself back as quickly as efficiently as possible. Usually happens when I'm driving. We get crazy out there. So that's my weakness. Crazy.
Yeah, like dreaming. I'm the same, actually. Mandy got rid of my motorbike when I first married. She said, you're not having a motorbike because, and I'll be honest with you, I agree with it because, I remember going on the motorcycle. We were going about an hour away to Eureka Springs. And I remember just, you start to go in the ethers and suddenly come back, the bike shakes. And, oh my God, that's terrible. Now in a car, it's not so bad. But when you're on a bike, it's not so good, So yeah. But I'm in the ethers a lot, because I'm remote viewing people all day. And, when you finish, you've got to kind of come down and try and get more grounded. It's a lot, So, yeah.
So my wife, Tracy, pointed out to me in my car as I have a Range Rover, and over time, so I've had it several years. I'm getting ready to, transition to another car, but the letters on the front of it, they start to fade over time. I don't know what it is. I've had several Range Rovers that all do that. But she pointed out, it's like, look at the ones that faded and the ones that are still out there. So it basically Range Rover, and it says anger.
That's really funny. That's amazing. Well, at least it's a car with spirit,
Right. And I'm not an asshole out there. I deal with. I just it helps me to calm down. I see somebody going crazy. I've driven in combat zones and overseas areas where most people would not survive. So Egypt and Somalia and all kind of crazy places where people they don't drive normal, and you just learn how they drive. And you learn to, one of my buddies said, you just learn to swim with the fish, and, you just move with them. And they're like, motorcycles, donkey carts and all kind of crazy stuff, so it's pretty interesting. So I learned to actually, like driving overseas, because everybody's going to do stupid. So you just get in that mode and you just kind of swim with the fishes. Here, you never know what people are going to do. Most people drive good. And then you have like these people that are way off the charts. And it's like, it just really messes stuff up. It's interesting. So kind of a little tangent there, but I think life is kind of like that too for some of us, everything's going in right now,
Well, it's crazy, but I think the driving has got worse. I think because of the vaccinated people, what's happened is that when the soul lifts out the body, they're checked out. They're not concentrated. I don't know about you, but when I drive through Branson, we don't live in Branson, just outside on these 40 acres. But when I drive through Branson, people just pull out. They don't see you. And so when I come to a junction, regardless of whether it's my way, right of way or not, I just kind of slow down and check them, and then speed up again. It's not worth it. It's insane.
Well, the two of us were kind of like in a different vibrational field. And my wife Tracy told me this one time, because I would go invisible overseas, and I would come back, and I'm like, I get so frustrated. It's like, don't people see me? And she's like, you don't understand. You're coming back from overseas, and you're still invisible. You have to turn that off. And I was like, right. So when you're in that very smooth, very nice frequency vibrational field, it really does affect your whole energy field and the vehicle that you're in, whatever that might be. And
it does, yeah. It protects you, because again, it's all about faith. I mean, to me, if someone's pointing a gun at you, you can turn around and say, you're not going to touch me, full stop. If you really believe it, I'm talking about, you can't have 1 ounce of fear. And if you, it's not going to happen. It won't happen. And
good job.
Yeah. So, and to me, it's like, if you got fear, you're kind of committing suicide in a way, because, you don't believe, But, it's interesting because people often said about this heart thing, the low frequency energy weapon that hit my heart valve. And I'm kind of thinking, well, I didn't even know about it. So, how are you supposed to block it? And they said, well, why don't the beings protect you? Sometimes they give you a education that's toned down, like you would have died, but instead it's toned down so that it gives you the education of what it's like to have your chest split open and stuff like that. And it was great, Don't want it again, but thank you. But, that was pretty serious. But I do think, you learn all these things are positive for learning. You can either take your power back, or woe is me, they hit me and Well, in that way, you're just destroying yourself. If you take your power back, say it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. You'll never die until you decide to. You might have some complications, like Mike, you've had it as well. I've had it, 200 odd times, 290 times up to now. But, if you really believe it, you'll always be here because you need it. And so,
Excellent point. Yeah. So that's what keeps me going, because I know that I'm needed. Right? So I was put back in here. I was like gone, and I was like, well, that's too bad. I thought I was doing a really good job, and I was really getting it. So, Archangel Mike was like, okay, we're going to put you back in. So Global Enlightenment Project, that's your .com is your website. I highly recommend everybody go visit that. There's free, meditations like we were just talking about. And you have you have a great gift shop. I think I've gotten almost all of your books. I have gotten all of your books, and Crystal. So it's a great shop. I highly recommend it, and hopefully, if it works out, I think we're kind of like really busy this coming month. But if I can make it, and I probably will, just kind of like break free if I'm in an event or something, and I do this meditation, I think it would be fantastic. So 20th.
Yeah, it'd be great, because the more people, the better, and it'd be great to join forces. So I'd love to have you there. Bless your heart.
Oh yeah. So, I think between the two of us, we could, get some really good energy out there. And then, of course, everybody that comes in, they have the intention, and that's going to make a big difference as well. So that's why I would really like to get involved with this, because I know between your group and my group, we could really have a very, very nice impact on humanity and the world. So that'd be fantastic.
Absolutely. And normally at the start, it's been, we do a bit of healing, removing entities, put people in portals and bond it to Merkabah fields so they're safe. And then, we start it, and people are blown away by the energy, because the more people you have, and it's not about it's not about the number, it's about the people who are committed to it. And that's the difference, I think. It's like you said, Mike, before, if you do a math intent, like, well, okay, God, I'm going to manifest a car because I need to go to work. There's no power in that. You've got to have the power behind it. I want a car, and I want it now. I remember being in Belize, and when I was bankrupt, I was out there. I had no money for food for 21 days, and after the 21st day, I kind of got a little bit kind of cheesed off. Well, I got pissed off, actually. So I said, okay, dear God, I command I get food now. Because I deserve it. And I thank you, God, send you my unconditional love. Within the first 5 minutes, the most dodgy guy in Belize, who was the wheeling dealer, came up to me and goes, Christopher, here's 50 Belize dollars, which is like $15 here. Do you know what? That fed me for 2 weeks. And
Wow.
he said, "Don't tell anyone because I'll lose my credit. I'll break my street credit." I said, "The duct tape syndrome works. It's okay." So I'll never forget that. And a guy who would never ever expect to give you any money. So there's always people out there. Always manifestations that can happen if you really put the power out and believe it. So yeah, it's amazing.
It is, and it's very, very effective. But you have to put a lot, like you said, really intense energy, and you have a deep desire for it and a need for it. It will manifest very quickly. I was on a Pacific Crest Trail one time, and I was really hurting for water. And I remember before I went up on this one mountain, I looked at the weather, and there was no chance of any rain for like 10 days. And I was like, okay, I think I got enough water, and the next water spot is right up ahead. I went to that water spot. It was dry for the first time in like a month. All the water spots have been perfect. So I was like, uh-oh. So I went to next water spot, dry. Next water spot, dry. And at that point, I started, like you said, praying and, pushing the cerebral spinal fluid up my spine and to my pineal gland, and just like boosh, sending it out, blasting it out. And then I saw like a shadow, and I was like, I wish that was a cloud. And I kept, praying, kept thinking about it. And then the sun just went away. And I was like, I looked up, and there was a huge storm came in and rained, and I had tons of water. It was like, I was like so thankful. It was amazing.
Well, it's not dissimilar with the chemtrails. We've got a map of intent to turn the chemtrails into basically, water, And if you look at them, if you say the prayer, if you say it with authority, what it does is it disintegrates the chemtrails for about 5 miles around your house. So, again, if anyone wants to use that, you can use it all over the world, because people complain, well, they're not stopped yet. Why they're not stopped? I don't know. I don't understand that. But again, we've got the power of God in us to change those into, neutral fluids, So I think it's really important to start doing that, and stepping up our game. So if anyone's got a lot of chemtrails still, I mean, they've stopped around here for now. But, I've done it, and it does really work. But you have to look at the chemtrails. Dear God, command you, change these chemtrails, do the prayer, and it will dissolve them 5 miles around your house. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's really amazing. Yeah. So yeah, we have the power, and teaching people and helping people to understand that is very, very important going forward. So thanks so much for joining us, Dr. Macklin.
Oh, thanks, Mike. Bless your heart. Thank you for having me, and thank you guys for listening. And we'll see you on next time, or hopefully on the 20th. It'd be great. So
yeah, we're going to plan it. So I think we can make it happen. So
send my love to Tracy Joe as well, bless her. She's amazing.
Thank you.
God bless.
God bless.